What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo, and I am here with the fourth on the list of HLTV's top 20 players. This, I think, to clear up some stuff, because we kind of just stumbled into this, right? Because the question was, like, who's coming in first? That was the big one. Is it Ziwu? Is it Simple? That's something that I was struggling with for a while. I looked at stats, I did comparisons, and then I put it out. I put out a couple videos where just giving my arguments for one side or the other. And of course, the comments on these videos, they're going to be awful. The comment section is going to be rife with people who are fans of the players, or who hate the players, or who are from their countries, or who hate their countries, or who have had arguments with their own friends about who should be in what place. That's going to be and honestly, it's all just for fun. All right. So if you remember that this is ultimately a list that's celebrating what we don't want to celebrate in Counter-Strike, right? Individual play. It is. And let's talk about that for a second. So what is the HLTV top 20 players list? Well, it's certainly a mix of individual skill and something to do with results, but more of an emphasis on individual skill to crown who people want to say is the best player, right? And who follows and who follows and who follows. It is something that people talk about in all sports when we talk about like quarterbacks in football, American football, or we talk about, you know, Messi, Ronaldo, and you guys brought that up a lot when coming to talk about Simple versus Ziwu, or we talk about Jordan and LeBron and the problem of different eras and stuff. There's all sorts of issues with trying to compare players, because there's the results thing, there's not knowing communication, which is such a big part of knowing the difference between X player and Y player. There's, you know, what teammates say about their other teammate that we don't know about. There is comparing one-to-one stats versus certain teams at different points of the year. What LAN versus online this year. There's a lot of stuff, right? And then there's just the argument, at what point do you have to diverge from just what you see in the stats alone? But what I'm doing with this video is I might give some thoughts as to who I think should be in the top 20, but I want to keep this more focused to who I think will be on the HLTV top 20. It's pretty much the list that we like to talk about at this point of the year. It's something that happens in Counter-Strike yearly, and it's interesting, especially, you know, past this for top 3, just to see between 4 and 20. And if you're one of those people who has a lot of disdain for the idea of handing out flowers to people for their individual efforts alone, well, think about it this way. Maybe if you can just put aside for a second that maybe that isn't what Counter-Strike is all about, that it is a lot to do with team play and much less to do with individual efforts. Otherwise, you know, what's to distinguish some random, you know, Swedish pugger in their first year of playing the game from like somebody like Flusha or JW or something at the top of Swedish Counter-Strike? You know what I mean? Like the individual skill thing, like maybe it does improve after you get to pro, but you know, semi-pro to pro, it's really the team aspect that gets heightened the most. The individual skill is something that we talk about, but if we can put that aside, I just went on such a tangent, sorry. But if we could put that aside for 1 second and just talk about it as this fun thing that we'd like to talk about, individual skill, who had a better year, who's more valuable as a player, and then have all kinds of conversations like this one about the team aspect versus the individual aspect, which tournaments matter. Along the way, we create a lot of context around the players and around the tournaments they played in and around the storylines. And in the arguments that we have, we also reinforce what's true and what isn't. And we challenge what's factually makes sense and what doesn't. And that's really cool, right? And that's not something we do otherwise. So sometimes I can't really read comments on videos like these, and these ones are going to be popular, and I think it's fun to do. And we just stumbled into doing this top 20 player thing, but again, I just want to mention that this is about me talking about who I think is going to be in the HLTV top 20 in what order, and less about who I think should be there. But I might bring that up, but just to put a focus on the video. And now that we're out of the top 3. So we did, I'm predicting Simple to be number 1, Ziwu to be number 2, and Device to be number 3. I'm most confident about Device, and I am 55% confident about Simple being in first place. That's how close I think that is. But just based on what I think HLTV might go off of, and you can watch those videos, that is what I'm predicting to be top one. I think before I looked at the stats, I was thinking Z would win again. Then I looked at what I thought were relevant, important stats, and some things that happen, that are out of everyone's control, that maybe result, like the fact that, we've got the lands at the beginning of the year and stuff. And I just think Simple might take this, but also that was one thing in the description. Someone, or in the comments, someone said, "I love your videos, but you never actually come to a conclusion in these." Okay, so that is my conclusion. Simple would be number 1, Zero number 2, Device number 3. That's my prediction for the HLTV top 20. And now we move on to who I think will be number 4. If you couldn't guess it from the thumbnail, which I'm saying this preemptively, I haven't made the thumbnail yet, but I'm planning to make it a silhouette. My prediction is going to be Nico. All right, so we use this again to leverage a position to be able to talk about Nico as a player, not so much like why he's such a good rifler or whatever, but where he fits into this, like what are his narratives and why we talk about Nico. And we know he's a great player. We know everyone in this top 10 is. Why is he number 4? Well, I think that we look at some things. Like, for example, if I look at HLTV, we've got no negative event ratings. I think this is the biggest one for me. We've got 3 events where he's gone negative KD, which either just barely or whatever, but never pulled a negative rating at these events. We've got a situation where overall his stats dipped down to all-time lows this year, but that actually is very consistent across almost all players if you want to go ahead and check for yourself. And it's not something that we necessarily want to pay attention to the most. This is around September. And then for the last leg of the year, a lot of players brought it up and came back through. This is also when Nico changes over to G2, right? So this is a big storyline for him, that this is a declining Nico because he's on phase and it keeps getting worse and worse. But even while this is all declining, he was the only player on the team to really keep the team alive. Okay, I have questions about Nico. Okay, I am, for example, no, I'm gonna try to, because I know who I know who's gonna be, I think is gonna be next on this list, but I don't want to bring it up in this video. I want it to be about Nico and to talk about his stats, because I want to keep it a surprise as we keep on going. And who knows, I might change my mind by the end of the day. So we'll try to just keep this about Nico. But this is, again, who I think will be, I'll predict to be top 4. And then what I'll do is every next day, I'll add context to the last player, right? By bringing in the new one and not talking about them right away. But we go to the end of phase here, and he's been on G2 for, it looks like, 30 or so matches. You've got FaZe Clan, where he is, again, he's really the only one pulling huge numbers. Even coldzera dips to below all-time lows in terms of his overall stats. The team is very much suffering, and I think this is Nico's weakest period right here. I don't know what event this was. This was like right at Pro League in August, I think. And then after that, he really just he pulled himself up hard and came through. Oh, remember this charity tournament? 13 rounds for the win. What up, Valorant? And yeah, so outside of that, before the decline, into the decline, Nico was really, yeah, he takes up a lot of space on teams. He gets all of his spots. Coming into G2, he's got all of his spots. So that means he has the requirement to put up bigger numbers. And for those of you who are wondering what that means, oh shoot, I didn't mean to play that again. To have all of your spots is to have every high kill position on the map. So for example, you have like on every map. So on like Nuke, you'd have Mini, or outside on Dust 2, or like what's the other example? Mirage, you'd have Connector. Maps where on most maps you'd have positions that are closer towards mid or playing a rotator position, because these are the ones that have contact with players most often, either versus splits or whatever. You have a lot of utility from those positions in the sense that you can move a lot, and you have a lot of fights offered up to you, right? If you're mini on nuke, you're fighting Squeaky, you're fighting outside, you're fighting the silo, you're rotating a lot. There's a lot of stuff for you to do, and usually put your highest fragging players there because they deliver. They get the 2 kills around instead of just the 1. So when Nico's on a team, he instantly gets all of the spots, even over coldzera, right? coldzera seems like much more of a supportive personality in that regard, where he's willing to just play B or just take a tertiary position on an extremity of the map or whatever it is. He's not so much the focal point, and that's not to take away from Nico, because he delivers in those spots. He really does. But the amount of space that he takes up versus how much the results have changed is the question for me. And when we talk about G2 as a team, I don't think that their placings have improved in a way that is perceptible, right? I think overall, we look at their events and they've done well, but like they get, first through third here at Blast Fall Series, which is an event with partnered teams. We've got the one match here, 2-0 versus Astralis, and this was actually, or no, this isn't the game that we're going to talk about, right? No, this is a nuke. Oh, this is the game that we're going to talk about with the Nico. With the this isn't. Oh my God, he had 2 really outstanding performances versus Astralis. Okay, I'm getting off topic here. Okay, so like at first it feels like, and Fall Series was the first event that Nico came into with G2. As you can see, the flag changes over as Almanac or Jax leaves, and it becomes the European Union flag, I think, and he is playing at the Fall Series. So you got first to third, and then at Beijing, third to fourth. It's still looking for fourth, and then it's looking a bit sketchier as we get over to DreamHack Winter Europe, which is 9th through 12th, and then 5th to 6th at the Blast Fall Finals. Another kind of stacked event, but still, on like still partnered teams in some sense. Like it's fixed competition. It's not as brutal as like DreamHack Masters Winter. So many different teams that they play against. And in this run, the questions start to come up a little bit. Are G2 changing as a team? Did they actually show a perceptible increase in good results? Like, for example, look at this in the top 20 here. We look at 2020. I just want to make sure that's right. We've got a really strong start here for G2, right? They can't finish a tournament. They keep losing in the finals. They keep losing Dust 2. Memes aside, overall, they're really strong. We've got 2 first place finishes and 3 third place finishes in the first 6 or 7 events of the year. And then we start to fall off a little bit, and this is where people start to question Almanac Jax. And then we finally, we go from G2 without Nico to G2 with Nico. Things start off well, but then they drop off again. All right. And so those are where my questions with Nico are. If you're going to pay up $500,000 or $1 million, whatever the fuck you paid for Nico, it better be a clear upgrade. Otherwise, you might as well have saved money, kept Jax, and continued to have middling results. The only reason that you need to upgrade, the only reason that you want to ever buy Nico is so that you start winning. That has to be the absolute only reason. If you don't, that's it. You don't pay that much for a player for their personality. You don't pay that much for a support player. You pay that much money for Nico so that you start winning. And has the team shown that they'll start winning? Not necessarily. At first, it looked good, and it's hard to say that Nico is necessarily the problem, but there is this question of, do we have a situation where potentially Nico is, that's a meme, is the problem? Is he affecting the outcomes of the team? Is he taking up too much space on the team? Where, yes, he's putting up his part, but now other players, for whatever reason, are performing worse now that he's in the team, and the team is now losing more. Is there some issue with just how he slid into his roles? Was he just given too much space off the bat, and it's a growing pains thing? These are questions that we're going to see answered in the next year. All right. So to put that aside now, why is Nico my 4th? Because apart from these things that we don't understand, that like if he is actually causing issues with the actual tournament results and placings of rosters that he's playing on, even if he clearly is putting up his own stats in a big way, multiple 30 bombs a month kind of thing, he is individually showing us by the numbers that he is delivering on his role. Insane stats all throughout the year. And again, through a dying phase into a new G2, hit the ground running. And what we're going to look at today is the most impressive Dust 2 match versus Astralis that has ever been played. And it was by Nico on G2 in basically their second series ever. 38-16 here, plus 22, 2.08 rating, his highest rating since joining G2. And he did this to Astralis 16-11. And yes, and that's why we're going to look at Nico. So he is, for me, he is number 4 on this list behind Device. I think this is very close still between 4, 5, and 6. And we'll find out tomorrow who I think is 4, 5, and 6. But this is my prediction for who I think will be on the HLTV number 4 position. All right. So let's look at his shining moment on G2, where I was very hesitant with him coming into the team, and then he put up on this performance, and then I was like, okay, I'm eating my words here. He's actually looking really good. And then, a little bit down the line, things start to become different again. Someone also mentioned in the demo that it feels like I'm sometimes commentating and not so much talking about the game. I don't know. I'm sorry if you guys are new to the demos, but if you are and you're kind of like a first-time viewer or something, there is the issue for me of not trying to repeat myself too often. And we've done a lot of CT Dust 2 Opera demos, and I can talk and I can talk about stuff. For sure, I can talk about stuff. Wait, why the hell can I not? Oh, okay. I can repeat stuff, but I don't want to, right? And so the other thing is that we're leaving we're gonna leave the mini map on here. We're not gonna do the POV demo for some of them, just so that we can kind of have more stuff to talk about if we need to. We've done so many POV demos, of course, in history on this channel, and I think it's sometimes nice to be able to talk about rotations and other things, especially if there's going to be overlap. And of course, I don't pre-watch these demos, right? So the analysis is honest and genuine in the sense that I'm not here to sell a narrative. Maybe I've watched a match and then I have something I want to talk about, but I'm trying to watch the game and be as surprised about things as everyone else, right? Like when I'm casting a game, I'm going off of observing, which is one perspective out of 10 perspectives. So I don't get to see everything. But when you watch a POV demo, you get all of the moments, all the bad moments, all the boring moments, everything that adds context to the full story. So here's a insane spray down from Nico with the FAMAS, and that's just enough for them to be able to pull the win out. Nothing special about this round. Of course, he tried to flash his teammate into Cat, and then he was right about when they were coming, a little bit off on the exact timing, but it is a big guessing game. And now we don't see anybody over at long. And Nico goes 38 kills in the game. I think he gets 15 kills in the second half, and then the math on that is, of course, 18 kills in the first half. So very, very kind of two-way game for Nico. Oh wait, not even 23 kills. Wait, 23 kills and 15 kills is 38 kills. Yeah, okay. Doing math when you're like live on something is like the most nerve-wracking thing. I think it's actually really good. I think it helps you. It helps build more focus, more clutch for me to. It's like doing math with something on the line. It's like being in a 1v1. Like you have to perform. All right, so long control here for Astralis. A little bit delayed. Pistols out for G2 and a cat stack. So it's actually not so bad. So let's see. We look at that the fact that Astralis are taking long and G2 know about this, it's not a horrible position here for G2, right? Like, they can play all of these different positions. Like, we'll see where Hunter plays. He can sit behind the default site box. They're actually gambling and not playing anybody on cat to spot their flanks and overstacking this part of the map, which is interesting. I think at a certain point you start to get paranoid about late cat split. So it, like here, so it might actually be better to go, you know, hold that for a second. That's why you see teams on the T side holding for so long. It's to create the suspicion, the paranoia. And I think I would have preferred to see G2 here just hold someone on cat for a second, because you can play on the cat bricks as well and spot the long cross. There's a lot of value in that. Okay, they got the Vice in the pit. They don't even care if he's alone. And, oh, he's such a hard target to hit. But listen, dying to an op, it's a win. You're dying to a gun that gives you $100 a kill, so that doesn't really work out that well for Astralis. If you're pistoling, you want to die. You'd like to die to an op or a Zeus. Those are your two favorite weapons to die from. So again, like you said, a position where you're rotating is one where you have the opportunity to have the most impact. Like here, he's not locked in, right? Like the long player cannot do what Nico's doing right now. But Nico can come up to cat. He can play aggressive close to the action. And anybody fighting off of cat is going to get a lot of action. No question about it on this map. Maybe 30, 40% of the rounds end here. And now the flash is probably going to come in for Nico to peek, I would hope. And we've got someone playing anti-flash tucked in behind the stairs. I guess he's just keeping vision. That's why we do the POV demos. On 69, he'd be able to see this no problem. But he's still in a pretty good spot. So let's see the flash is coming, I think. And he takes a peek. Wow, that was a really strong peek by Nico. You see how he actually doesn't fall off and commit and have to jump off? But he still sees everything he wants. That's just good movement. And now the crawl up cat with the assistance of his Molotov. This offers him up this opportunity. And now his teammate can rotate off of A through spawn and Nico can flank. So this is a big play, right? This is the nightmare situation for Astralis, where not only does Nico find a way to fight them while they're on cat, but he finds a way to re-aggress when they get him to fall off. So that's why that play was very, very good by Nico. Yeah, of course. I mean, like, you could, I think it's true that most other FPS titles, they could never go pro in CSGO. And there's a lot of people who don't make it in CS that can make it in other games. It's not so much the other way around. And that's just to say, like, I mean, it's a bit of elitism on my part, but that's just to say the results are such that, like, all I'm pointing out is that, like, your mechanics in Counter-Strike matter, and we talk about Nico's mechanics as being in a league of their own, which is great, but that's not the only thing that makes him an upper echelon top tier player. It is being able to find all the spots where you think that your opponents are going. It's your utility usage. It is your map awareness, and all of these things that all have a hand in you winning or losing matches. Mechanics alone are nothing. Like, I think at this point already, Navera is showing that he is even a better CSGO player than Scream. It is a bit early to call that for sure, but it just feels like he is on that path. Scream always struggled, and I think there's more of a spotlight shown on him, so I want to be fair. We talk about Scream because of his mechanics, but we never talk about him as the best player to ever touch this game, even though we talk about him as a player with the best mechanics to ever touch this game. And it's not to say that he's a dumb player, right? I think you could have great mechanics and not be able to be a pro player at all. So he is still a smart player, but was missing something. And it didn't have to do with his mechanics to make him a great CSGO player, or to be able to give him longevity. And once again, I want to be very careful and respectful. Scream's obviously somebody who's achieved a lot and had a long and illustrious career in CSGO. as well, but something was keeping him out of the tier 1, and obviously it wasn't his mechanics. That's all I'm trying to say. If I had to be, make a callous prediction, it would just simply be that Nevera will overtake him in results in his career. And that's maybe brave to say, but it feels like he's just, I don't know. I haven't seen many players like Nevera in my life. I think it's pretty incredible. Like at this stage of their career, I think it's pretty incredible what he's done already on Vitality. And Vitality are, yes, the #1 team in the world, but I would argue that that has a lot to do with Nevera right now, which is kind of unbelievable to say, right? So, okay. Nico, he gets a kill holding the side of the door, and there's an assist as he puts the spam damage in, knowing Device is there. I think to really boil it down, though, right? When we talk about what makes a CS player, like, all you have to think about is, like, what the hacks do, right? What are the most appealing hacks that you can get in CSGO? #1 is aimbot, and #2 is wall hack, right? Pretty simple. And that just tells you what the priorities are as a CS player. There's not really anything else you have to think about when we think about that. So when we think about the best players, think about the players who are aimbots and the players who have a really good understanding of where people are. And the very top tier players are the players who have the built-in aimbot and the players who have a really good understanding of where people are. And when we analyze their games, we talk about, how they discern that knowledge. Where do they get that info? How do they make such confident reads? And I think the other thing is that, like, maybe the third thing that's really important for a CS player that, hacks will give you with either wall hacks or with aimbot, that's confidence. I think Alexi B said this to me in a DM once. He said this when I was asking him about resolutions, and he says he doesn't believe there's any real advantage to playing on stretched or black bars, and he thinks that if more popular players like Rops played on native, more players would switch over. Like, pretty simple. That's what he said. And I think that's what we are seeing, that Rops can perform at the very highest level on native, and a lot of people are switching over. But another thing that these hacks give you is confidence, and that is a really big part of this game. The feeling that you will win your duel, the feeling that you will win your duel under pressure, these kinds of things. So imagine a lot of great players will say, when at their peak, when they're feeling it, they have an understanding. They keep an inventory of where everybody on the map is all the time. They have no problem. It's just a spider web in their mind. Their synapses are firing off. They have so much confidence in where they think the next fight is going to be. And when you know where the next fight is coming from, you better believe you're favored in that engagement if the other guy doesn't. And I think that's something that we don't get to see. We get to kind of backwards rationalize why players, won their duels. But that's something the players themselves know for themselves, that they won this duel because they were pretty confident that that duel was coming, right? Like, that makes aiming easier in the first place. I think that is the real difference between the A1, Tier 1 CSGO professionals and, the Tier 2 or even the Tier 1 but not like super top players. And Nico, of course, like, no wasted space. He actually gets the dink off on that second player. And we can see the impact is already ridiculous here just on the aim alone. Moving out with his team. But does that make sense? Like, I think even you could have a player who is pound for pound just as good as another player. But, the results are going to vary based on how nervous they get. Like, quite simply, right? Because what's the difference between a matchmaking game, a group stage game, and a major final? The circumstances. That's it. It's still competitive 5v5, first to 16 versus players who all have the same. There's not pay to win. Like, it's literally the same game, but you're sitting in a different DX racer on a different part of the planet, right? Like, it's in front of a crowd or whatever. So I think that's the other difference. And I think you could boil down top players and what makes top players based on those three criteria. How nervous they get, basically how they play under pressure, how good their game sense is, which is a broad term that needs to be defined, and then also how good their mechanics or aim are, basically. So they're just the three aspects. I think everything else is pretty tertiary, and maybe communication is something that's slightly intangible that also feeds into what game sense is, right? Like if you've got a teammate with great comms, they might be a big reason for your success. They might be a big reason for your team's success. But yeah. Anyway, rant over. We've got the nade up onto Cat. And this does feel like a, kind of a frag movie. We have the overstack over towards B this time around. And this is, again, just to talk about Nico's position, right? So he's the guy who's free. This guy does not have to babysit anybody. He just has to pick what he thinks is going to be the site. So wherever he goes, that's where the power shifts on the CT side. If you take a risk and come over to B, maybe because his teammates asked for him, then this strengthens B and weakens A. If he plays in CT spawn, he has kind of a 50-50 versus the players at mid and the players on Cat. If he plays on Goose, he's very powerful versus Cat, but then loses the advantage over towards B. And here, it looks like the read is incorrect. They go kind of off of no information, which unfortunately I think is something that Nico, maybe does a lot on some of the teams he plays on. It's maybe just a play style thing, but I think it also works out because they can. I'm sure they're confident about the retakes, and he, like, aim-wise has been so incredible this game. Like, he can maybe get away with it, but let's see. 5v5 retakes on A are not completely unwinnable at all. And we see he's actually just here holding the mid flank for as long as he possibly can, and is now here in the cleanup crew. But holy crap, Device is really making a case for Astralis, and Magisk will find a great time to peek here versus Nico and take him out. Then they lose. That one's all about Device. He has to hold his ground from sitting up there on the default block. So it's obviously not a perfect situation. Like, if they go B there, like, let's put it this way. If Nico could play 3 inside B side every single round, he would. But if they were going to go A every round, he wouldn't be there inside B side every round. So a 5v5 retake, it's not the end of the world, but it does imply that basically, the G2 or Nico went for a read and it didn't pay off. This is a very scary situation. So they try not to panic off of this, and they assume that Magisk will get a kill, and then Astralis will, wait a second and cause the rotations out. This is a great time to hit long for Astralis. But Magisk gets found in lower, and now Nico can... I don't think he thinks that they're out here, but he can just clear this out. He's even reloading in this position. So coming in for the super late flank. And we see our number 5 guy. This is the guy who's basically avoiding, not coming back through our mid. So this rotation from Nico is super smart, and now he has a big advantage. Even though it took some time, he trusted his teammates could at least delay. And now I don't know. Does he miss a timing here, or let's see. No, he comes out. And Zipix, he does like kind of check this and is aware that they haven't seen anybody inside lower, and they know Nico's around. Oh my goodness gracious. I remember that. That was Glaive was actually jumping, dude. Can we just one more time? So more quick. Wait, is this the same round or no? Shit. Okay, we'll just find out. If it is, I'm just going to go back 2 rounds. Oh, okay, let's see how he actually deals with this. Oh, look at the spray control right there. Doesn't go up too high, and everybody gets mowed down. Okay, let's go back. This is 14s. We're looking for 12. No, we're looking for 13. One day we won't have to do this in demos. Okay. I just want to do this. Okay, we've got X-ray on. I don't know if I should watch this from Glaze perspective. I think we should watch it. Let's watch it from Glaze perspective. No, let's watch it on X-ray. Oh! Oh my. He literally was jumping. Did you see that? That was crazy. That was wild. Well, let's see what this looks like on X-ray. And 2 on the final round. Out 23, 15 in the second half. That's that. What a great demo. That was good. You know, on some of these Dust 2 demos, and especially when we're looking at like literally a showcase of mechanical skill, I could repeat myself for 20 days in a row, but I do want to make sure that the like, I don't know, it's not too repetitive. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I'll try to keep everything as interesting as possible, and of course now in the top whatever players, we've done a lot of these guys already, but it'll be interesting to see after I look at, you know, the stats and who I think is going to be next up, who is next up, and why. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Keep the comments civil if possible, but understand it's an interesting and fun thing to discuss. All right, see you tomorrow, guys.